All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the new Ridgeline podcast. I'm Devin Dunnigan, and here with me, as always, is Mr. Stephen Mott. How you doing, brother?
Great brother Jake.
All righty, and we also have here Mr. James Dean Potts. How you doing, brother?
All right for the night.
All righty, so today we are back, and we are going to be reviewing the 1987 album by Sammy Hagar, I Never Said Goodbye. So this was the solo album he released in between 5150 and OU812, and pretty much this album was put together as kind of a compromise between Geffen and Warner Brothers, to where he could basically go join Van Halen for good. And this was produced by Sammy, Eddie Van Halen, and David Thoner. I don't know who David Thoner is, but this was originally titled simply Sammy Hagar and included an untitled cover, but was renamed I Never Said Goodbye because of a MTV promotional contest. And I've seen copies that didn't have the I Never Said Goodbye name. I've seen a CD version, or I saw a CD version actually. And should have bought it, but didn't. But yeah, this is pretty much Sammy's return, his follow-up after VOA from 1984. And there's elements of VOA on here, and there's also a lot of elements of Van Halen. And we'll talk about them as we go through the track by tracks and all. But yeah, I mean, the band for this record was Sammy Hagar on lead vocals and guitar, and you have Eddie Van Halen on bass and backing vocals and guitar for one single song, and it's just a small part. Then Jesse Harms on keyboards and backing vocals, David Lawser on drums and backing vocals, Albhi Galutin, I'm probably butchering that name, but he's on additional keyboards and percussion. And then Omar Hakim is on drum overdubs for two songs, and I'll talk about those as we get into the record. So, yeah, I mean, this was, like I said, his return after joining Van Halen. And four singles off this record: Returning Home, Give to Live, Eagles Fly, and Boys Night Out. And there was at least two videos from this that I know of. If there's any more, put it in the comments below. And we'll talk about the videos, I'm sure, as we get into the songs itself. But yeah, so Steve, what's your initial thoughts on this record before we get into the track by track?
Well, I would disagree on one thing that you said, that it has elements of Van Halen. No. But however, I guess it is co-produced or something like that and played on by Eddie Van Halen, or so what I gather from Sammy's book. That's all I know about this factually, and other than that, I have in fact listened to it, which is a very good thing for me to do, because sometimes I don't do that and Devin gets mad. So I'm just playing. This is, I mean, I don't know what to say about it other than that. I think it's a really true solo, Sammy Hagar solo record. I really like the sound of it, and it's pure straight rock production sound, so with some pop orientations. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, what are your opening thoughts on this album?
When I first went to listen to this album, I was kind of confused, and I didn't fully expect what I started to hear. But when I started listening to it, right when I got into the first song, I was like, oh man. Because, believe this or not, I've never actually listened to Sammy Hagar, but this album really got my attention. So now it kind of brought me into a new order, or whatever you call it, where I'm starting to listen to more Sammy Hagar to just see if he's made any more that's just as good as some of these songs on this album. So I was excited about this one. And I don't know what Steven's talking about, because to me, Sammy, this does have some kind of Van Halen influence. It's got some kind of influence from Van Halen. Because if you listen to Van Halen and then you listen to Sammy Hagar, the vocals and the guitar parts and almost everything in the songs is like, am I listening to? Because if you don't know if it's Sammy Hagar or not, you're gonna think it's Van Halen. But hey, that's what Steven thinks. But hey, whatever, you know. But yeah, I think this is gonna be an epic one right here. This is a beautiful album. Back to you, boy.
Yeah, so let's get into this record with the very first track on this album, When the Hammer Falls. So, kind of traditional Sammy Hagar sound for this one. I mean, it's a good opener. Maybe not the best opener, but really and truly for this album, I mean, I don't see any other song on here that could have been a good opener. And I like it. It's kind of very 80s in terms of the way it sounds, but I dig it. I like the bass work all across this record by Eddie. I thought he really stood out as a bass player for Sammy, and I like the song. It's just kind of regular fare for Sammy Hagar. If you've heard any of his previous albums, I mean, it's kind of it's got that sound, and I could see it being on something like VOA or Standing Hampton or maybe even Three Lock Fox. I mean, it's got that more traditional Sammy sound to it. So, Steven, take When the Hammer Falls Down.
Well, to me, it sounds somewhat mediocre, but I do like the riff. It's kind of like a descending thing with the guitar riff. And I will say that Sammy's, I like the way Sammy writes riffs and stuff like that, because a lot of people don't realize it, but he really is a pretty dang good guitarist. I mean, not the best in the world by any means, but he's pretty good, compared to some artists and stuff who can't even play their own songs hardly. But I mean, he's a pretty stealthy guitarist, and I really. That's why I say that about, Van Halen not sounding like this, because Eddie Van Halen comes up with all the guitar parts for Van Halen. Sammy doesn't write really guitar riffs for Van Halen. He wrote all these riffs, well, except for one probably, as Devin said, by him, for this Sammy solo record, obviously. But honestly, Back Into You, I think is the one you said he didn't write, but I would have thought that was one that he wrote too. It sounds like something he might write, to be honest. But for this song, I just don't know. I mean, and to be honest, to go off of what Devin said, really, I don't really think Eddie's bass playing. I mean, it was decent, but I mean, there's only so many things you can do with a bass. I mean, he played pretty good, but I mean, it just kind of makes me wonder. Like, you can hear the bass good in this, and in Van Halen records, you can't as well, nearly as well. So, I wonder what I'm trying to get at with that. So, back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take When the Hammer Falls.
That song was pretty epic. This is one of the ones which I obviously just said, but this is the one that kind of grabbed my attention when I heard it, because I was like, oh, dang, this sounds kind of like Van Halen over there. But, anyways, the only thing was, I don't know where there's bass in this song, but I didn't really hear the bass that good in this song. Which I'm not saying that it's a bad song just because of that. I'm just saying I didn't hear it in this one. But I hate it in most other ones. I mean, because Eddie does a freaking awesome job on bass in this album. It's epic. And anyways, yeah, I love the guitar parts. I love the vocals. I mean, the drums was just amazing. This whole song was a good song. I just wish that the bass was kind of stepped up a little bit so I could hear it a little bit more, because it's kind of funny hearing Eddie as bass instead of hearing him as guitar like I'm used to. But anyways, back to you.
Alrighty, so then we move to the next track, Hands and Knees. So this says that this wasn't released as a single, and a video was made for this song, and the video is like, what the crap? I mean, it pops in with like Van Halen and Sammy's wanting a jam, and it goes to him with like these robots, and it's stupid and very, very cheesy. But this song probably is tied as the best song of this freaking record. I really love this song. This has got drum overdubs by Omar Hakim, and I love it. I think it's a fantastic song. You was talking about the guitar and all a little bit earlier on the previous song, and I think Sammy is a pretty underrated guitar player. I mean, maybe not like Eddie, but I mean, he can stand on his own. He's a pretty cool guitar player. And I know, of course, people that hate Sammy Hagar are going to say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." But I mean, that's my opinion, and that's your opinion. So, yeah, I mean, I like this song quite a bit. I think this has got kind of a cool, just interesting groove to it. The riff is overall pretty interesting. And if you listen to like Black and Blue off of OU812, I kind of hear a little bit of that going on with this particular song. So yeah, I mean, I like Hands and Knees quite a bit. So Steve, take Hands and Knees.
Well, I agree. This is a great song, and I think this reminds me, for whatever reason, of like a Kiss song. I don't know why that comes to mind every time I listen to it, but I mean, it sounds like a Kiss anthem or something, you know. But anyway, besides the point, I remember the music video too. Actually, I kind of liked the music video. Um, I don't know, it was just something different, and I was like, well, I just don't know. I mean, that's pretty good because it's different. And really, the song, I mean, it's good. That's all I got to say about it. It's got a little bit different sound than the rest of the album. Most of the album has kind of a straight rock cut and clean sound, and I don't know where I came up with that. I dreamed that line up, but I mean, just straight rock, just kind of more of a rough sound. And this song has a very commercial sound, probably the most commercial sounding on the record by far, and probably for good reason. They probably was thinking they were going to make lots of money off of this. So anyway, great song. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take Hands and Knees.
I love this song. Just like you guys, though. It's, like you said, one of the best ones on the album. It's got that good bass line, that juicy guitar riffs, and to the guitar parts, I don't know how Sammy Hagar could be hated though, because I mean, he was just such a good guitar player. I mean, he's not, like you guys said, he might not be the best in the world. He might not play like some crazy Dragon Force or something crazy like that, but I like his style. I like the way he plays and how he carries himself out with these riffs and all. Back to you, David.
Alrighty, righty. So we then move to the next track, Give to Live. So probably the second most well-known song off of this record. This was played with Van Halen when Sammy would get up and do his solo song, which was kind of a quintessential part of that era. This or a song coming up was usually the songs he played live. He played also a couple of others from his other albums, but I mean, I like the song. It's quintessential Hagar. It sounds a lot like VOA. I think it's got kind of the poppy sound that song or that album has, something like Two Sides of Love or something. And I like this song. I've always really enjoyed this song. I like the acoustic version that's on Live Right Here, Right Now from 1993, the Van Halen live album. And I mean, it's just overall, it's just a good pop track. And also, a video was made for this song, and it once again, horrible video. It's Sammy by himself on stage, just like swirling around. It's a stupid video. And I mean, that I would have much preferred maybe him, Eddie, David Lauser, and Jesse Harms on stage playing live. But I mean, of course, he was in Van Halen, so that wasn't going to happen at that point. But I mean, yeah, I don't mind the song too much. I think it's a good one. It's another pretty well-known track off the record, and was the second single on the album. So, I mean, yeah, if you're getting into Sammy Hagar, this is definitely a song that deserves to be on any greatest hits album. So, I mean, there you go. So, Steve, take Give to Live.
Well, I mean, it's there. It's a song and it's on the record, and I mean, that sounds like I'm trying to be comical, but really, I'm getting at a good point that it's an album track, and it's not the greatest thing I've ever heard. It's not the worst thing, but I'm just sitting here like, what the crap? Like, I just don't know. I mean, it's not all that really. I mean, I get sick of these cheesy lines like that. Like, you got to give to live. It's just stupid. Like, this is supposed to be rock and roll, not some stupid cliche, or it's just dumb. I mean, the melody of it's decent, but like, I mean, just different lyrics. Like, I mean, people say Sammy Hagar is such a horrible lyricist. I've never really thought one way or the other, to be honest. But I mean, there's a few songs that I like the lyrics of his too. Like, you know, Your Love Is Driving Me Crazy. I kind of like the lyrics of that song. It's just people just put him down for that, and I think he's just trying to just sound kind of. I think the word sometimes we used before is kind of edgy, and I think that's what it really. That's a signature to his sound, is being kind of edgy, and people just don't quite get it. And you know, or they might just not like the style. But I mean, just whatever. It's your opinion, but I mean, I'm either or on this one. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take Give to Live.
This song gave me that 80s vibe, how they was like coming up with all these songs that sounded like this, and how they were so emotional and impacting and stage worthy and all this stuff. But this is another one of the best ones on the album, in my opinion. And it's somewhat emotional in a way to me, which he does get a little bit edgy with it, but this is Sammy Hagar we're talking about. So, anyways, another great bass line. The thing they added with the keyboard, I can't remember who was on the keyboard. We literally just got done saying his name. But anyways, great job on that. Now the guitar part was pretty good too, even though I didn't really Hewitt as pronouncingly, but this song, it's got a good feeling to it when you listen to it. So, yeah, that's about it right there. Back to you, Dave.
Alrighty, so then we move to the next track, Boys Night Out. So this is just kind of a very 80s party rocker, and I like the song. I mean, it's nothing special, but I enjoy it for what it is. It was performed live on the David Letterman show to promote this record, and I like it, but I mean, like I said, it's nothing special. It's kind of a fillerish track. So, Steve, take Boys Not Out.
Yeah, I really don't remember this one striking me that much. It's not really. I mean, it's another one that I could sit there. I could I could sit there and listen to this record and I could kind of vibe with it, but you know, it's just kind of a flow to the record, and he's trying to keep it going. And I've heard that a lot of bands try to do that. Like they, what I'm trying to say is that they just kind of keep the same beat first song and they try to write around that. And this is kind of an example of that, like trying a little bit too hard to fit a certain mold, I think. And it's just when you do that, like when you start out saying we're going to write a song this certain way, it's gonna come out kind of bland because of obvious reasons that you're just not really. What should come first is like the melody and you coming up with stuff, not saying but not to trail off on that too much. It's not that great because it just I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a lot of thought was put into it. I mean, I just don't know. Don't ask me why I think that. I just when I listen to these records like this, it just things come into my mind of like what their thought process might have been. Because I try to make records and stuff, and I know what my thought process was behind things, and I just try to think up stuff like that. But anyway, besides the point, um, I mean, it's an album track. That's all I got to say. So, back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take Boys Night Out.
I'm not a big fan of this one. It's kind of filler. It's just another one on the album to kind of make it a little bit longer and kind of try to keep it alive like a energy drink to the album itself. But I gotta say it does have a good bass line though. I do like the bass on this one, which Eddie he did. This is one of the songs I was talking about when I was talking about Eddie with his great bass lines, which I didn't actually know that he could play bass till now, but I should have. But anyways, uh, aside from the bass line, this is kind of like we can skip this one and move on because that's actually what I did. I listened to the whole song the first time, and I was like, well, I think I got the gist of what this is. So I've listened to it a few more times and kind of just disregarded it and whatever. But it's yeah, it's one of the bad ones on this album. It kind of like says, whoops, we kind of messed up here. But yeah, anyways, back to you.
Alrighty, so then we'll move to the next track, the closer of side one, Returning Home. So speaking of bad songs, this is a pretty horrible song. I really dislike this track. I mean, this is kind of where the album, quite honestly, takes a dip for me. I mean, it's just this is the type stuff I don't like from Sammy when he tries to kind of get into this kind of like real poppy philosophical type crap, and it sounds a lot like his earlier solo career, like his first 3 albums or 4 albums, however many they were, the ones that came before Danger Zone, and I'm just not really that big of a fan. They're very mellow. They're not very rock oriented albums. And from what I understand from Sammy's book, that those were definitely not albums that he wanted to make. So he wanted to be more of a heavy rocker. But I mean, it was intended to be a sequel to Silver Lights from 9 on a 10 scale, which is one of his earlier albums. And he said it was about pretty much the human's return trip from being abducted by aliens, or it could also apply to a tale that his future self might tell a child at that time, which is like, okay, I guess. But yeah, this is not a good song. I'm not a fan of this one. I mean, it annoys me. It's 6 minutes and 17 seconds long, which is way too freaking long for this album. I mean, this album's already like 45 minutes long, and I mean, this one I will say, I've talked about it before. I just like long albums, but I mean, this one kind of goes by for what it is. I mean, it's not too long of an album, but yeah, this is not one that I really care for. I mean, it just comes in, starts out with like this acapella type thing, and then quickly goes into this kind of more poppier based song. It kind of reminds me of something off of VOA, something like, once again, Two Sides of Love or Swept Away or something like that. So I mean, yeah, not a fan of this one. And so Steve, take Returning Home.
Yeah, Sammy is kind of. I've seen this a lot, where stories are told about Sammy, like that he, about the background of his songs like that, or him talking about it, and he really, I think that's the way he thinks about these songs, is that he doesn't just write. I mean, I don't want to say he doesn't write random lyrics. He does sometimes, like off the wall stuff, just to be edgy, but to add a certain element to it. But at the same time, when he writes songs, it's like he wants to. He starts to think, well, I'm going to make it about this, and then fits it to a mold, and that sounds good, on paper, so to speak. But you know, it's like he tries to come back and add elements in later that don't make sense with what was there to begin with, if that makes any sense. Like, and what's this deal with him and aliens? Like, I hadn't been able to figure that one out yet. That's pretty far out to me. Like, the same thing with like Love Walks In, that he wrote, or him and Eddie basically, but you get the point. He writes the lyrics. So and it's supposed to be about eight. I'm just sitting there like, man, what? It's like it's like, I've read his book too. Sammy, the way his mind works is like, it's pretty far out. Like he talked normal for a while, and then he started talking about some off the wall crap. Like he followed that pattern through that whole book. Like he would tell these off the wall stories that it's just too much information. Like nobody needs to hear that. I mean, it was funny, but at the same time, like, it's just like, man, everybody does this stuff. Like, what? You don't have to tell these explicit stories. And it's the same thing with his songwriting, if that makes any sense. So it's just like he doesn't know, he doesn't have a filter. So, I mean, not necessarily with this song, but just overall. But this song sucks. And these rants on these podcasts of mine are just like continuous, because I forget sometimes to talk about the song, but I really don't like this particular song at all. And when you said that about the aliens, that's what got me started on that. So, and it's just, no. Yeah, worst song on the record. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take Returning Home.
What the hell is this, dude? This pissed me off. Because it's like he had it going so good when he started out the album, and now he's just kind of like taking and falling from the sky that he is in the album cover. He's just taking and falling at this point. Um, I really don't know what to say about this song except for it sucks. I mean, there's nothing really. Plus, with the little thing he added in the very beginning of it and how long it was, and that just extended the song, and I just couldn't like it. I hated that. I got weirded out. I couldn't necessarily like handle listening to it, and I kind of skipped the face part after I hate it, and I had to back to it. But anyways, and then when I got into the song itself was actually um it. I could probably handle listening to it, but I mean, it's it's a filler song. It's not what I really prefer to listen to. It's like I can listen to anything else, but this song kind of just screwed up the album. Like I feel like Boys Night Out is where the album just started to kind of sink. Gravity started to take its course on the album. But yeah, I don't know what this is. I don't even know how I finished listening to it, but I did, and we're here talking about it. Here talking about this song, which was kind of, oh my gosh, man, it's a bad one. That's what it is. This is a bad song. It screwed up the album. But back to you, Devin.
All right, so we turn this sucker over to side two with Standing at the Same Old Crossroads. So this is kind of a prelude to the next song, and yeah, whatever. I mean, it's Sammy trying to be bluesy, and I'm not a fan of this one. There is an extended version of this, which is like 4 or 5 minutes long. I don't even remember. I've heard it. I listened to it preparing for this episode. And yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't like this. I mean, I've grown to where I don't really like when bands try to be bluesy when they're not really bluesy bands at the heart of everything, and it's just it's the same thing. I mean, this was at a time. I mean, hair metal was popular, and there's hair metal elements on this record as well with a lot of these songs. But I mean, hair metal artists were kind of trying let's pay tribute to blues. Let's bring blues in, mix it with heavy metal, and some of it was good and some of it was not so good. And this is just one of those cases. I mean, it's a minute and 46 seconds, so I mean, it's not like horrible or anything. It's not like it's the worst song on the record. I'd probably give that to the previous song. Or well, maybe not. I mean, maybe this is the worst one on the record. But yeah, I'm just not a fan of this one. So Steve, take Walking or Standing at the Same Old Crossroads.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you tried to take a page out of Eddie Van Halen's book and, try to add an intro, prelude to the song, and it just struck me as just so stupid. It's only like a minute 27 or some crap like that, and I was like, man, but really, I mean, if you go back, you know, a lot of rock and roll records have stuff like this. I mean, not necessarily bluesy stuff, but like just interludes, just like maybe not necessarily songs to themselves, but just little things throughout the record that just are kind of off the wall and just make your head turn and go, "What the crap is that?" You know, I mean, it's just kind of an element that he understands that rock and roll, what rock and roll is supposed to be. And really, I mean, I think this is, an overall rock and roll record, if that makes any sense. I mean, it might sound stupid to say, but I really think it is. But just kind of, it's all people have always done that in rock and roll, like add bluesy stuff in or add this or that random crap part. I don't mind. I don't mind the idea of that, but this particular one just didn't. I didn't quite like, but at the same time, I kind of understand why it's on there. If that makes any sense. So anyway, back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take standing at the same old cross.
It was kind of pointless. It's a song that's on this album, and it's a song. That's about it. I mean, why didn't he just take this song and so-called song and kind of just say, well, maybe I'll try to put this on an album where I just do this specific type of thing, because you just took whatever you was making on this album and put a whole random in it, like you was gonna go experimental for a second there. But it's pretty short, which is probably the only good thing about it. But aside from that, it's really, to me, it's kind of stupid. It's a pointless thing to put in there, and I know it's supposed to be like a prelude to the next song here, but it's I feel like maybe he could have did something else with it, instead of trying to be like, well, I was making this for the most part, and now I'm just gonna randomly pick up the guitar and just start playing something random. But yeah, I didn't like this song really that much. Between this one and Retaining Home, I'm kind of confused on which one I could actually rate worse. I don't know which one out of the two would be like the worst one on the album, because they're both pretty bad. I mean, but it's like at this point he's kind of just taking and putting water on the fire. He's kind of putting it out, and it's like he's running out of ideas at this point. He's like, well, we got to make this album, but I don't exactly know what to do, so we're just going to throw a bunch of chunks in here and all. So, which, 1 minute, I mean, why would you even put that in here? That was a waste of time. That's like sitting in your room and just like randomly playing a random lick that doesn't have anything to do with anything. You just randomly felt like picking up and playing. That's what kind of vibe I get off this little prelude right here, is how it's just him just kind of like playing with it or something, instead of actually playing a song. It's not really a song, it's just like a practice type deal. But anyways, I feel like this album does have a little bit of a leap later on. It does get a little bit like his brain starts moving again later on in this album. But before I talk too much about that, I'm going back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so this song bleeds into the next track, Privacy. So this is kind of a sequel to I Can't Drive 55. It's got a similar subject matter, and pretty much this was about Sammy Hagar kept getting stopped because of black tinted windows, and he would always get ruled in his own favor, but the law that they had in California just basically could not prevent the law from pulling him over and giving him tickets about it and all. And it's not good. I mean, it's trying to kind of be this old school kind of shuffle rock and roll. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this one. It's not good. I mean, it just comes in and it's just it's just stupid. I mean, it's trying to kind of, like Steven kept saying earlier, edgy, and it's just stupid. I mean, it's not a good song. So, I mean, not too much else to say other than that. It's filler, and it's a song, and it's on an album, or on the album. So, Steven, take Privacy.
Well, I could take it or leave it once again. I mean, the only thing that happens good after this is a couple of songs, probably. But I mean, like I can agree with Dean. Like it kind of went to crap after about the first three. I mean, 3 tracks. I mean, it's total doo doo. It's putrid crap. Um, I mean, I wouldn't feed this to my dog. So, I mean, you see what happens when I don't have anything to say, is I start saying things that Pete would say. So, uh, I mean, Privacy. I mean, so, I mean, that's interesting what Devin said about what it was about. It sounds like something that Eddie that Sammy would do, but only one more comment I'll make is once again, you know, on this whole record, as a whole, it's kind of redundant, but um, really, I mean, I hate to say it, but I really didn't think that Eddie's bass really stood out to me that much. If I didn't know any better, I just think it was anybody else. Just simply because, I mean, there's really, I mean, you can add little frills and stuff with the bass, but it really doesn't amount to much. And this is just my opinion, but really, bass doesn't amount to a lot in songs. I mean, all it's really there for is to help the overall sound of the track. It's not really supposed to be somebody playing lead parts or do anything all this crazy. It's just supposed to have keep the driving rhythm and you know keep the overall sound of the track good. And I just don't know. But anyway, I mean, so I don't know what that rant was supposed to be about, but it's what came to mind, so that's what came out of my mouth. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take Privacy.
It's here. It's on the album. I don't really know what else to say. It's just one of those ones that's like, okay, well, it's here, so let's listen to it or whatever. Eddie's still doing a great job on the bass. I love the drums on this one too. Big fan of the drums, you know. But I mean, really, that's about it. I like the point of it, like what Eddie and Sammy was kind of getting at, because they was like that. But well, I feel like if he was gonna write a song about it, he could have made it actually like kind of thriller, like kind of good in a way. But this one's kind of just like a plain song that's like, well, I mean, whatever. Nobody really cares because, I mean, it's not really interesting. It's not breathtaking or attention grabbing or anything like that, like what you would expect out of a song that they made about Eddie and his tinted windows in California. But I'm not interested in this one. It wasn't necessarily one I would take into consideration. This one also leads into the where he kind of starts his downfall. But like I said, he might pick up later. I mean, this album, it kind of like just at this point between Boys Night Out and whatever's coming next, he's just like, well, let's just make some songs to put on the album to, like, kind of, because they probably felt like they had to add 4 songs because they was gonna have the album too short. But in my opinion, I feel like without those, it it would actually be okay. It wouldn't be the longest thing. You could probably add some more songs that actually sounded good. I feel like Privacy should be on this album because I like the meaning, but I feel like they should have picked like a different play style for this one, like a more like, you know what I'm talking about, like a kind of maddish sound or whatever. Because yeah, they do got a little bit of a heavy metal sound somewhere in here. So hey, if it's a song talking about privacy and his windows and him being pissed off about it, make a song that sounds pissed off. But hey, it's here. It's a song and it's on the album, and I just don't know because it's too plain. It's like a plain cheeseburger, a plain chicken sandwich, no juiciness, just whatever it's there. But anyways, back to you, brother.
Alrighty, so we then move to the next track, Back Into You. So not a bad song. It kind of contradicts itself in terms of kind of the music and the lyrics. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I think the lyrics are innuendo, and I think it is full of sexual innuendos. But I mean, maybe it's just me that gets that. But I mean, the music's so like poppy. It's good music, and I like the melody, the whole melodic structure of this song and all. But the lyrical content is just like, to at least to me, like an innuendo. And I mean, it's a good song. It just kind of contradicts itself in terms of kind of the subject and then the melody and the music. So I mean, only one written by Hagar and Jesse Harm. So the only song on here was a co-write, and yeah, I like it. It's just kind of bait and switch with the lyrics and all. So whatever. I mean, it is what it is. So Stephen, take Back Into You.
Well, I mean, I really like this song, but I mean, honestly, my first point would be that just going off of you, Devin, I didn't quite get that vibe that you're talking about. But I didn't, again, I didn't really listen that close to the lyrics. But anyway, so number 2 is that, I mean, this is Sammy Hagar we're talking about here. The same one who wrote Good Enough. I mean, probably enough said right there. So, I mean, that's all I got to say. And crap. Back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take Back Into You.
Okay, so this is the point where I feel like their brains want to start to wake again, where they want to like kind of get back into whatever they was doing, get back into uh hands and knees and give to live. And but anyhow, moving forward from this song, back to you.
Alrighty, so then we move to the next track, Eagles Fly. So this is another one that was performed by Sammy during his Van Halen tenure. This was usually when he came out with the acoustic and was playing solo by himself. The band did join in during the Balance tour, I believe, and they actually played the song with him. Tied with Hands and Knees is the best song on the album, in my opinion. I mean, I love this song. I think this is such a great track. It was demoed with 3 other songs to follow up Hagar's BOA. I almost said Van Hagar's BOA, but yeah, I mean, I like this song quite a bit. It says here, I'm reading on Wikipedia, but it says here that when 5150 had been finished, but they didn't have Dreams, they wanted one more song, and so Hagar presented this song acoustically to the band, but the band rejected it, saying that it sounded too folksy. And like I said, I do like this song quite a bit. I think this is actually a really well done song. It has kind of this epic vibe to it, and there's guitar by Eddie on this song, and I don't think it's ever really been pinpointed where Eddie plays on this track, but there is like one section in the kind of the middle solo section that sounds a lot like Eddie, so I'm assuming that's who that is. It could be Hagar messing around or something, trying to sound like Eddie, but it really does sound like Eddie, so I'm assuming that's the place where he plays guitar on the album. So, yeah, I dig this song quite a bit. I think this is actually a really well done, epic song. So, Stephen, take Eagles Fly.
This, I always did think this was just a little bit of a corny song, kind of hokey. I never did quite. I mean, it's not that I hate it. It's just that I'm just kind of Like any version of this song I hear is just not the greatest in the world. Like he wants it to come across as this anthemic, really great tune, and it can stand alone good with just him and the acoustic on stage or with a band. And it just don't stand good either to me. I just don't like it that much, to be honest. Just the song itself. And just, I mean, this version particularly that I remember has like a snare, the snare along with the main riff, like the 4 hits at a time, and then more hits. If you know, you know. But anyway, so I kind of like, it adds a good addition to it, but I still don't really like it. It's just kind of too simplistic. I could see the folk quality to it. That's probably why I don't particularly like it that much, to be honest, because it's kind of like a mix of a lot of things, and it's supposed to be like this big anthem, and it's just not. It's just not that good. So I don't know. Back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take Eagles Fly.
This goes into where they start stepping up the game a little bit. They start getting back into the good songs and whatever. And anyhow, I love this song. I thought it was pretty good. I like the way they did that little thing, the drum roll after he said Eagles Fly, and it, because I took and I kind of pictured in my mind kind of like starting to slowly, sounds kind of hippie-ish, but anyways, I felt like kind of floating closer to the sky and getting high, which that could have been a video for this song, kind of getting higher and higher to the sky and having like the whole band kind of doing that, Anyhow, great song, guys. Right back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so we then end this sucker off with what they're gonna say now. So this is kind of this album's inside, which if anybody remembers the 5150 review, I said I hated that song, and I don't like it now, but I don't like it quite as bad. I don't hate it as much as I did back then, but yeah, this is just kind of this weird whatever song. It's filler. It's not what I would say a terrible track, but it's kind of like gives me a vibe, kind of something like Inside off of 5150, just without all the techno stuff that's on that song. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's just kind of this, just whatever track. I mean, I can't say too much about it. I mean, because it's filler. It's a filler track on this record, and I mean, it's whatever. So, Steve, take what they're gonna say now.
Sorry, my mic screwed up thing, but anyway, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've listened to some new type of record, not new, but new to me, old records, rock and roll records and stuff. Here recently, and I I'm kind of starting to understand why they do certain things on records that I didn't used to understand. Like if you hear a record all the way through, uh, you know, it's supposed to be some stuff for effect and just for comical or just for whatever effect, just to be different. And just I mean, a good word would be like quirky. You know, I do stuff like that sometimes too, but on stuff. But it's just I mean, it's just something to be. I can't explain it. That's the only way I know how to explain it. But anyway, so I mean, it's just, I mean, it's stupid, but at the same time, I kind of understand why the concept of something like this would be on a record. It's just, it's just to make people's heads turn and go, "What the crap?" That's all it is, you know. But it's not supposed to be taken seriously, stuff like that, in general. But the rest of the record, was for the most part, in a way. But I mean, it is what it is. Good and kind folks of the podcast, and I just don't know. I mean, it was a good record, but off the wall ending. So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, take what they gonna say now.
Um, I kind of liked it in a way. I feel like it's a day finisher song. Like you're kind of just walking at the theater or whatever, kind of like, well, there we go. There's the end of it. Like just saying bye, we're done. You can go, whatever. Not necessarily a good song, but it wasn't a terrible song. It was right in between both. It was I I can like it and I can listen all the way through it.
Alrighty, so yeah, that's the end of the record. So this was released on June 23rd, 1987, and it was the ninth Sammy Hagar record. And I mean, like I said, it's got some good songs on it, but kind of overall relies a little bit too much on the filler. So I mean, for me, I would probably give this record an overall probably 8 out of 10. It's a good album. I think it's a good effort, but yeah, it has some crappy material on here. And I mean, other than that, I don't have much else to say other than that. It does say here that it was recorded in just 10 days, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I will say this. I think if OU812 had some of the songs this album has, I think OU812 would be a better record. And I love OU812. I think that's a great album. But just saying, I think some of these songs would have fit pretty good on that record and probably strengthened that record. Maybe if you took some of the filler off of that and put some of the best songs off of this on there in place of those, it probably would have been a lot better. So that's all I got to say. So, Steve, what is your rating for the record?
I mean, my rating would be just an overall. Just listen to it all the way through. I mean, I put down a lot of these songs, but just as an overall vibe of the record, I just say like 9 out of 10. It's just something I enjoyed listening to. Um, and just as a record overall, obviously, because Captain Obvious, yeah, that's what we're rating the overall album. But I mean, I'm just trying to get a point across. Like, a record is, it's gonna have little different things, and It just has all the good elements to a good rock and roll record. So, that's just my IMO opinion. But that's what this whole thing is about, of course. We're not going to say anything for a fact unless it is something like a factual fact. We're not going to say, "Oh, this is that song is stupid," and that's the fact, So back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, what is your final thoughts and rating for this record?
I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10. It did have some songs that did down it for a second, but overall, this was a great album. I loved hearing Sammy on guitar, and I loved hearing Eddie on bass. Uh, like this is actually good music. It gives me an 80s feeling when I listen to it. His guitar tone was awesome. The bass, the way the bass was kicked in, it was freaking amazing. I mean, the drum lick was somewhat simple, but awesome. But and the little extra multi-tracks they had, like the keyboards and all. But this album, I loved it. This is one of my favorite that I've reviewed with you guys that I can say I did like a lot, aside from the 4 songs we talked about. Back to you.
Alrighty, so then we'll move to our picks of the week for this week. So I'm gonna pick for my music pick of the week, Def Leppard Pyromania, 1983. A great record, Rock 2 You Drop, Photograph, Stage Fright, Too Late for Love, Rock of Ages, Coming Under Fire, Action Not Words, Die Hard the Hunter. A great album. I mean, from start to finish, one of their best albums, and I definitely recommend it. Maybe it's kind of a given choice, but it's great. It's a great album. So my movie pick for the week this week is The Faculty from 1998, so a horror film with it was directed by Robert Rodriguez and it was written by oh my gosh, I almost said Wes Craven, Kevin Williamson, and it's a great movie. I just finished watching it a little bit before we did the podcast here. So that's my picks of the week. Steven, what is your picks of the week?
Well, I mean, I'm not even gonna bother with a movie pick of the week. That'll be just stupid. But my my uh, my film, my dadgum music pick of the week would be "Presence" by Led Zeppelin, because that's one I heard here recently, and I liked it because of its off the wall nature, and kind of like this record. So that's why I kind of associate it with. So anyway, back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so Dean, what is your picks of the week?
Um, my mom kind of influenced me on the album because she wore a Poison shirt the other day, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll listen to a few of those songs. But the "Open Up and Ah" album by Poison, that's a good one that I'd suggest to listen to. I'll probably listen to it again. But for the movie pick, I'm not really sure because I didn't look into it. But there was one horror movie that I can't, which this isn't one to tell to watch or whatever, my favorite pick of the week or whatever, because I can't necessarily remember the name of it. But there was a killer in this town, and there was these girls. They was having a party at this house, and he went to this house, and there was these boys. They was kind of paving on them through a window, and then they got brought into the house. Whatever, parents are gone, let's have fun, whatever's going on. And this killer specifically uses a drill, a power drill, to kill his victims, and a knife in some scenes, because he does get a knife somehow. Like, they try to kill him with the knife or whatever, and he gets it, and whatever. But anyhow, I love that one. It was pretty entertaining. I kept watching through it, even though it was kind of like it was a suspicious film, but I liked it, and I feel like if somebody else was to find out the name of it, like I need to figure out, because it was just like I just have random horror movies that just pop up on my TV, and I like to pick those because it's like I'm not just gonna keep bringing up ones that I already know or whatever. I like to bring up ones that I'm not really familiar with, so everybody else could get a feel for it, like I did the FaceTime, and I'd like to see their face reaction compared to mine. But anyhow, yeah. So if you look it up, it's basically if you Google it, uh, it's a serial killer that kills with a drill at a little night party, like a little sleepover or whatever. So yeah, that's my picks right there. My album and my movie of the week.
All right, that wouldn't be Slumber Party Massacre, would it?
That is exactly what it is. And this one that I'm talking about, I think it was two. I think this is the second one. I'm glad you said that because now I do remember the name of it.
All right, so there you go. That's the episode this week. We hope you all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and this will go over on our new page, our new feed. So thank you all for listening or watching, and we will see you in the next review. Bye bye.